Hello, good afternoon. Hello, Sir Matt. Hello, Ma'am Kia. My name is Ralph Daniel Honra, cadet engineer. What role do you think scripting plays in Linux system administration? So for me, the importance of Linux shell scripting is that it automates the process that you wanted to do in Linux. So it makes the processing, the doing of tasks much more easier than when doing it manually. So it automates the process, which helps you to be more productive. In here, I've created archiver.sh. So this contains all of my code or the script that I've created using VS Code. So the notes, so the code editor that I've used is VS Code. So this is the inside of my archiver.sh. It has a global variable current date, header, and footer. So I've created multiple functions which are actually just called in my main function. So I have constructed my script in such a way that it is all inside a function, and each function contains its own purpose or function. For example, output format. It contains the function for the formatting of the output or for the echo. And I also have create log files directory. This function is for, as the name suggests, is for the creation of the log file directory, which will store all of our log files. And then next, I have the log files function. So this function specifically, the main function of this is to move all of the log files scraped from the var log folder into my newly created folder, which is the log file folder or directory. The next the next function that I have is about modifying the file permissions. So as per the instructions, after copying all of the log files from the var log into my newly created log files, is I need to change all of its permission into the instructed permission, which how this function is constructed. And then after that is the file summary. So this function, the purpose of this function is to create the log summary, the lines per file, the lines per file inside the log files directory, as well as the file size of each of the files. So this is the function. This is the purpose of this function. And then I also have a dedicated function for zipping all of the files. So remember, I have created a log files directory. So inside that is all of the log files that I have copied from the var log. And then this function specifically, what it does is it zipped all of the files into a zip file and then creates an opt folder in our home directory or in the root directory, and it is where it is stored. And lastly, I have the main function. So in the main function, it just basically calls out all the other functions that I have created above. So like how a Java is typically constructed, a Java code is typically constructed just like any other code like Python or Kotlin. So you have a main function. So I just mimic those functionality in my code. So in here, I have a main function. And then inside of my main function is the other functions that have different purpose. And then I just call the main function. Now, so let's demo what is happening on this shell script. And by the way, this script is quite different to what I have submitted in the previous activity since I tried to improve my code using functions and other commands. So this code is the more optimized version of my shell script. So now let's start demonstrating the function of the script. So first is let's do sudo. So because some of my function requires to be a super user or to be a root for you to be able to run that function. So sudo then archiver.sh. So begin archiving log files, creating log file directory, copying all of the log files from the var log into my locally created log file directory. After that is changing the permission of each of the files inside the directory, and then calculating line count summary, calculating file size summary. Then after that is creating the zip file and then moving it into the OPT folder. So let's first check the results. So let's go inside our log file. So log files. Now, as what we can see, first is the permissions. So it now follows instruction wherein all type of users must have a reader permission. So as what we can see, so each of the type of the user can read each of the files, and then it contains all of the log files from the var log. Now let's go to the root directory and see if the opt directory is indeed created. So as what we can see, opt folder is created. Now let's go inside of it. In here, we can see the log files or the zip file that is created earlier. So it contains all of the log files and the log summary. And as what we can see, it is also modified the permission in regards to the instructions wherein all type of users must also be able to read this kind of file, read or access this kind of file. Now let's go back to the locally created log files. So cd my scripts, cd log files. And now let's see what is inside the log summary.txt. So that log summary.txt. In here we can see the summary for the line count summary and also the file size summary. So it includes all of the lines inside the log file as well as the size inside the log files. So this is the form. So I just copied the format. I just copied the format to the given YouTube video. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back. And that is for the shell scripting that I have created. And now let's go to the conceptual reflection. So choose at least 3 lessons from the course and reflect on. So what concept or command from this lesson struck you the most? So for me, the commands that struck me the most actually is the command about this. It is a construction of the if else. So I had a problem at first in constructing this if else command since it's kind of new for me. And next is the command about specifically the usage of the pipes and the find command. So it's really helpful when you are trying to have multiple commands. So it lessens the lines of commands that you have to use, because using pipes or using .exec or using -exec, it lets you create multiple commands in one single line. So it's really helpful, and that really strikes me the most. Next is uh, the closing thoughts. So what are you most proud of in your script of learning journey? So for me, the part that I'm most proud of actually is the entirety of my script. So this is actually my first script. So this is my first time writing a script like this. It is quite new for me, and I'm quite amazed actually with all of the commands and the syntax that I've learned throughout throughout the lessons. And I'm just quite amazed that you can do something like this. So I didn't know before that something like this exists. It can definitely help and automating the process. If you have, for example, if you want to shorten the process of doing something, so instead of manually typing all of the commands, the code, so you can just write a script and then run it if you need it, and then after that, it just like you can definitely get the results that you want in one click using scripts. And then if you had more time, what would you improve or add? So if I had more time, I would like to optimize my code more. So of course I added some functions to make it more readable, but I would like to I'm actually quite interested if there's other architecture that you can apply on this. For example, is the application of OOP or any other methods or architecture. So if there's more time, I would like to learn more about those architecture, the way on how to do or to jumble all kinds of functions, to inherit some functions or some scripts from other files. So I'm interested in those. How has your view of Linux changed since lesson one? So after going through the lesson, I'm really amazed on how large the ecosystem of Linux is. So I'm greatly interested actually, and I would love to learn more about Linux. And that's all for my presentation, and thank you for listening.